My phone ran out of data again. Third time this month, and we're only halfway through February. How is that even possible? I asked Lisa while she scrambled eggs at our kitchen counter in our Columbus suburb. We've got the unlimited family plan with Verizon. You probably used it all streaming Netflix during your lunch breaks again, she said without looking up. There was something sharp in her voice, like she was annoyed I'd even brought it up. Netflix doesn't use that much data, Lisa. Besides, I mostly watch YouTube. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Mike. She slid the eggs onto my plate with more force than necessary. Maybe check the account yourself. I should have. God knows I should have checked that account months ago. But after 22 years of marriage, you start trusting your wife to handle the bills. Lisa had always been good with money, better than me anyway. She managed our Huntington bank account, paid the mortgage on our 4-bedroom colonial, kept track of everything while I focused on my accounting practice downtown. I'll look at it later, I said. Right now I need to get to the office. Peterson wants those quarterly reports by noon. Lisa nodded, already scrolling through her iPhone. She'd been doing that a lot lately. More than usual. Always texting someone from work, she said. Her job at the medical supply company kept her busy, especially since they'd promoted her to regional sales manager last fall. The commute from our Worthington neighborhood to downtown Columbus usually gave me time to think, but that morning my mind kept drifting back to our phone bill. $537 last month. For 2 people. That seemed excessive, even with our son Tyler away at Ohio State running up his own data charges. By lunch, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I called Verizon from my office on High Street, gave them my account information, and asked for a detailed breakdown. Sir, it looks like most of your overage charges are coming from text messaging, the customer service rep said. Specifically from one line on your account. Which line? The number ending in 4847. Is that your wife's phone? My stomach dropped. Yes, that's her number. She sent over 2,800 text messages last month. Your plan includes 1,000, so you were charged for the additional 1,800 messages. 2,800 messages. Lisa barely texted me 5 times a week. Who the hell was she texting 2,800 times in 1 month? Can you tell me what numbers she was texting? I can send you a detailed bill breakdown to your email address on file. You should receive it within the hour. I hung up and stared out my office window at the Scioto River. 22 years. We'd met at Ohio State when I was getting my CPA certification and she was finishing her business degree. Married right after graduation, bought our first house in Clintonville, had Tyler when we were 28. We'd weathered job changes, financial stress, her mother's cancer diagnosis, my dad's heart attack. We were supposed to be the couple that made it. The email arrived at 1:47 p.m. I opened the PDF attachment with shaking hands. Number called most frequently, 614-555-9823. 847 text messages. 23 phone calls totaling 6 hours and 14 minutes. I didn't recognize the number. I copied it into Google and started searching. Nothing came up immediately, so I tried a reverse phone lookup on whitepages.com. The result made my blood run cold. Kevin Matthews, 43, Columbus, Ohio. Sales manager at MedTech Solutions. MedTech Solutions. That was Lisa's biggest client. She'd mentioned Kevin before, always in professional contexts. He was the guy who'd helped her land the regional promotion. Reliable, trustworthy, great business relationship. Great business relationship that required 847 text messages in January. I printed out the phone records and shoved them into my desk drawer. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the papers. For the rest of the afternoon, I sat in my office pretending to work on spreadsheets while my mind raced through every conversation Lisa and I had shared about Kevin Matthews. She'd started mentioning him around Thanksgiving. Casual references at first. Kevin thinks we should expand into the Dayton market. Kevin suggested a new inventory management system. Always Kevin this, Kevin that. I'd assumed it was normal work talk. Lisa had always been ambitious, always networking, always building professional relationships. But 847 text messages wasn't professional networking. That was something else entirely. I left work early, claiming I felt sick. Which wasn't a lie. I felt like I might throw up right there in the parking garage under my office building. The drive home to Worthington took forever, every red light giving me more time to imagine what those text messages might contain. Lisa's silver Honda Pilot was already in our driveway when I pulled up. She was usually at work until 6, but here she was at 4:30, sitting at our kitchen table with her laptop open. "You're home early," she said when I walked in. She didn't look up from her screen. "Didn't feel well." "You're early too." "Slow day." Figured I'd work from home this afternoon. I sat down across from her, studying her face. She looked the same as always. Blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, minimal makeup, wearing one of those athletic wear outfits that had become her uniform over the past year. She'd lost weight recently. About 15 pounds since Christmas. Said she was trying to get back in shape, feel better about herself. "Lisa, can I ask you something?" "Sure." Still not looking up. "Who's Kevin Matthews?" Her fingers stopped typing. For just a split second, but I caught it. Then she resumed typing and said, "He's my contact at MedTech." "Why?" "You've mentioned him a lot lately. Seems like you two work together quite a bit. He's a good client." "What's this about, Mike?" I pulled the printed phone records from my jacket pocket and placed them on the table between us. "This is about 847 text messages to the same number in 1 month." Lisa's face went white. She finally looked up from her laptop, her blue eyes wide with what looked like genuine surprise. Or maybe it was fear. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. "Mike, I can explain." "I'm listening." Kevin's been going through a rough divorce. His wife took the kids and moved back to Cincinnati. He's been having a hard time, and I've just been trying to be supportive. As a friend. A friend who requires 847 text messages in 1 month? He needed someone to talk to. You know how you get when you're stressed about work. You talk my ear off about Peterson and the other partners at your firm. Kevin doesn't have anyone else. It sounded reasonable. Almost believable. But something in her voice was off, like she was reading from a script she'd prepared. "Show me the messages." "What?" "If it's just innocent conversation about his divorce, show me the messages." Lisa's jaw tightened. "That's private, Mike. He confided in me about personal things. I can't just show you his private thoughts. But you can share them with a man I've never met?" "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" She closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair. "It's like having a friend who needs support during a difficult time. Nothing more. At 11 p.m.? At 6 a.m.? At 2:30 in the afternoon?" "Lisa, I've got the timestamps right here. You were texting this guy at all hours of the day and night." "So what? People text at different times. It doesn't mean anything." "It means something to me." We stared at each other across our kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals, where Tyler had done his homework, where we'd planned vacations and discussed our dreams for retirement. Now it felt like a courtroom. "I need to see those messages, Lisa." "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't have to prove anything to you. Marriage is supposed to be about trust." Trust. She was right about that. Marriage was supposed to be about trust. But trust worked both ways, and she just admitted to conducting an intensive texting relationship with another man for months without telling me about it. If there's nothing to hide, why won't you show me? Because it's the principle of the thing. If you don't trust me after 22 years, then we have bigger problems than Kevin Matthews. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Lisa slept beside me. Or pretended to sleep. I couldn't tell which. Every few minutes, I heard her phone buzz with a text message on her nightstand. In the past, I'd never paid attention to late-night messages. Work emergency, family member needing something, spam. But now every buzz felt like a knife twisting in my chest. At 2:17 a.m., her phone buzzed again. Then again at 2:19. Then 2:22. I wanted to grab it, unlock it, read whatever Kevin Matthews was saying to my wife at 2:22 in the morning. But I didn't. Instead, I got up and went downstairs to our home office. I opened our shared laptop and logged into our Verizon account online. Maybe I could see more detailed records, maybe even read the actual messages. But Verizon only stored message content for a few days, and this had been going on for months. I sat in the dark, bathed in the blue light of the laptop screen, feeling like my entire world was crumbling around me. In 6 hours, I'd gone from worrying about a high phone bill to questioning everything I thought I knew about my marriage. The next morning, Lisa acted like nothing had happened. She made coffee, kissed me goodbye, and headed off to work like it was any other Tuesday. But I noticed she kept her phone in her purse instead of leaving it on the kitchen counter like usual. I couldn't concentrate at work. Peterson asked me twice if I was feeling all right, and I lied both times. How do you tell your business partner that you think your wife might be cheating on you? How do you admit that you've been so blind for so long? Around noon, I did something I'd never done in 22 years of marriage. I drove to Lisa's office. MedTech Solutions occupied the third floor of a glass building in the Polaris area, about 20 minutes north of downtown. I'd been there exactly once, for their Christmas party 3 years ago. I parked in visitor parking and took the elevator up, not entirely sure what I planned to say or do. The receptionist was a young woman with purple hair and multiple ear piercings. Can I help you? I'm looking for Lisa Peterson. I'm her husband. Oh, hi. Lisa's not in today. She's out on sales calls all afternoon. Sales calls. Lisa had told me she was working from home. Do you happen to know where? I need to get a message to her. The receptionist checked her computer. Looks like she's visiting clients in the Dayton area today. Won't be back until tomorrow. Dayton. 60 miles away. I thanked the receptionist and rode the elevator back down to the parking garage, my mind racing. Lisa had lied about working from home. She was in Dayton, supposedly on sales calls. But was she really meeting clients, or was she meeting Kevin Matthews? I sat in my car for 10 minutes, debating whether to drive to Dayton and look for her Honda Pilot in random hotel parking lots. The thought made me feel pathetic and desperate, but I was pathetic and desperate. My wife was lying to me, potentially cheating on me, and I had no idea how to handle it. Instead, I drove home and waited. Lisa returned at 7:30 p.m., carrying takeout bags from Chipotle. Thought I'd grab dinner since I was out all day, she said, setting the bags on our kitchen counter. How were the sales calls in Dayton? She paused, just for a second. Fine. Long day, but productive. Which clients did you visit? The usual ones. Regional Medical Supply, Dayton Health Partners, couple others. I nodded and helped her unpack the food. But inside, I was screaming. She was lying to me again, and she was doing it so easily, so naturally, like she'd been practicing. That night, after Lisa fell asleep, I carefully picked up her phone from the nightstand. My hands were shaking as I tried to unlock it. She'd never used a passcode before, but when I swiped up, a number pad appeared. She'd changed her security settings. I tried her birthday. Nothing. Tyler's birthday. Nothing. Our anniversary. Nothing. I set the phone back down and stared at the ceiling until dawn, wondering how long my wife had been keeping secrets from me and how many more lies I was about to discover. The next few days passed in a haze of suspicion and dread. Every time Lisa picked up her phone, every time she smiled while texting, every time she worked late or ran errands that took longer than expected, I felt like I was losing my mind. On Friday evening, Lisa announced she was going out for drinks with her coworkers. Which coworkers? I asked. Just some people from the office. Sarah, Jennifer, maybe a couple others. Will Kevin Matthews be there? She looked at me like I'd slapped her. Why would you ask that? Just curious. No, Mike. Kevin won't be there. It's just the girls. She left at 7, wearing a black dress I'd never seen before and perfume she usually saved for special occasions. She said she'd be home by 10. At 11:30, she still wasn't back. I called her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. At midnight, I heard her car in the driveway. She came through the front door quietly, like she was trying not to wake me. But I was wide awake, sitting in our living room in the dark. How were drinks? I asked. She jumped, startled. Mike, you scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Couldn't sleep. How was your night? Fine. We went to that new place in Dublin, had a few drinks, talked about work stuff. Until midnight? We lost track of time. You know how it is. I didn't know how it was. In 22 years, Lisa had never stayed out until midnight for drinks with coworkers. She'd never worn new dresses for casual office gatherings. She'd never turned off her phone for hours at a time. But I said nothing. Just nodded and followed her upstairs to bed, where we lay next to each other like strangers. The breaking point came the following Monday. I was having lunch at City Barbecue on Sawmill Road when I saw them. Lisa and Kevin Matthews, sitting in a corner booth, leaning across the table toward each other like lovers. His hand was covering hers. She was laughing at something he'd said, her face bright with happiness I hadn't seen in months. I paid for my sandwich and left without eating it, my appetite completely gone. I sat in my car in the parking lot, watching them through the restaurant window, feeling 22 years of marriage dissolving before my eyes. They stayed for over an hour. When they finally came out, Kevin walked Lisa to her car and hugged her goodbye. Not a friendly, professional hug. A long, intimate embrace that told me everything I needed to know. That evening, I confronted Lisa with what I'd seen. I had lunch at City Barbecue today, I said while she prepared dinner. Oh, that's nice. How was it? Interesting. I saw you there with Kevin Matthews. She froze, her back to me, gripping the edge of our granite countertop. Mike, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You've been explaining a lot of things lately. She turned around, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began, she looked genuinely frightened. It's not what you think. What I think is that my wife is having an affair with a client and has been lying to me for months. What I think is that our entire marriage has been a joke and I've been too stupid to see it. It's not an affair, Mike. We're just friends. Friends don't hold hands in restaurants. Friends don't text each other 847 times in 1 month. Friends don't lie about working from home when they're really meeting for secret lunches. Lisa started crying then, tears streaming down her face as she slumped against our kitchen island. I never meant for this to happen, she whispered. And there it was. The admission I'd been dreading for weeks. How long? I asked. It's not what you think it is. How long, Lisa? Since Christmas. 2 months. She'd been cheating on me for 2 months, and I'd been completely oblivious. Worse than oblivious. I'd been trusting, supportive, understanding when she worked late and took mysterious phone calls and bought new clothes. Are you in love with him? She looked up at me through her tears. I don't know. That hurt more than a simple yes would have. At least if she'd been certain, I could have understood it. But not knowing meant she was still deciding between her husband of 22 years and a man she'd known for 3 months. I want you to stop seeing him, I said. Mike, it's not that simple. He's my biggest client. I can't just stop working with him. Find a way. What if I can't? I looked at my wife, this woman I'd loved for half my adult life, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. The Lisa I'd married would never have cheated. The Lisa I'd married would never have lied so easily, so repeatedly. The Lisa I'd married would never have asked me to accept her ongoing relationship with another man. "Then I guess we're done," I said. I slept in our guest room that night and spent the next morning consulting with a divorce attorney on Gay Street downtown. By afternoon, I'd opened my own checking account at a different bank and started looking for a one-bedroom apartment in German Village. 22 years of marriage, and it was over because of a phone bill. Lisa begged me to reconsider. She promised to end things with Kevin, to change jobs if necessary, to do whatever it took to save our marriage. But the trust was gone, and we both knew it. How do you rebuild trust when someone has looked you in the eye and lied to you dozens of times? How do you believe promises from someone who'd been making different promises to someone else? The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Lisa kept the house in Worthington. I kept my accounting practice and my self-respect. Tyler, home from Ohio State for the summer, was devastated but not entirely surprised. He'd noticed the tension between his parents, the way we'd stopped talking to each other, the way his mother had become secretive and distant. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said when I told him about the divorce. "I'm sorry Mom did this to you." "I'm sorry too, son. But sometimes things happen that you can't control or fix. Sometimes people change, and you have to accept it and move on." It's been a year now since I discovered those text messages. I live in a small apartment near downtown Columbus, and I'm dating a woman named Carol who works at the library on 5th Avenue. She's kind and honest and doesn't own a smartphone because she thinks they're impersonal. Lisa married Kevin Matthews last month. I heard about it from Tyler, who attended the ceremony out of obligation but left early. According to him, she looked happy. I hope she is. I hope it was all worth it. I learned something important from this whole experience: trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe the best about someone. Don't make excuses for behavior that doesn't make sense. And always check your phone bill. Life goes on. I'm happier now than I was during those final months of my marriage, when I was living with someone who was essentially a stranger. It hurt like hell at the time, but getting divorced was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just wish it hadn't taken 847 text messages to figure it out.